My son, who died, he was bullied. He was bullied very heavily right up until the time that he committed suicide because of his sobriety.
At 65, Marie Osmond's life is not a story of glittering stages alone, but of haunting sacrifice and resilience. She was once America's sweetheart, her smile lighting up homes across the nation. But behind the charming image was a girl robbed of childhood, a woman who endured unbearable pressures, and a mother scarred by loss. Fame gave her the spotlight, yet it also stole her innocence, her peace, and her ability to simply be herself. This is the heartbreaking truth of Marie Osmond's journey, a tale of survival, sorrow, and unshakable strength through relentless storms. Marie Osmond's childhood ended before it began. Born in 1959, the only daughter among 9 Osmond siblings, she was destined to be the family's jewel. By the age of 3, while most children giggled with dolls and crayons, Marie was performing beneath scorching studio lights, clutching a microphone larger than her hand. She was not raised to explore curiosity or delight in play. She was raised to perfect harmonies and memorize scripts. Her parents, devout Mormons intent on building a musical dynasty, demanded excellence from every child. But Marie bore the heaviest burden as the family's only girl. She was the centerpiece, the shining daughter marketed to America. Discipline replaced affection, schedules replaced freedom, and her identity blurred into the Osmond brand. One childhood memory remained seared in her mind, the day she asked to play outside like other children. Her mother's cold response cut deeply. "No, you can't go. You have work to do." From that moment, Marie realized her life was not her own. She wasn't just a daughter. She was a product, a performer molded for the stage. Applause became her lullaby, rehearsals her reality. What she lost was not just a carefree childhood, but the chance to know herself outside of performance. Even as America celebrated her as a charming little star, Marie's heart carried the quiet grief of a girl forced to grow up too soon, never allowed the innocence of simply being a child. At just 11, the cruelty of fame scarred her again. Sent to Japan for a commercial shoot, what should have been a thrilling adventure became a brush with death. The boat she traveled on capsized, tossing the young girl into shark-infested waters. She clung desperately, sunburned and dehydrated, until rescuers arrived. Any ordinary child would have been given rest, wrapped in comfort, and held close. But Marie was not granted that mercy. Instead, blistered and aching, she was marched straight back into the recording studio. There, she was ordered to sing, her pain dismissed as insignificant compared to deadlines. In her memoir, Behind the Smile, she recounted how she was told to plaster on a grin despite the burns that stung every inch of her skin. That horrific experience became symbolic of her entire youth. Suffering hidden, joy suppressed, and the demand to perform no matter the cost. From then on, Marie understood that her value lay not in who she was, but in what she could deliver to the world. The accident was a near-death ordeal, but worse was the lesson it cemented. Her humanity was secondary to her career. Behind her radiant smile, the child within her disappeared further, conditioned to survive pain silently. America adored the little girl with the golden voice, but inside was a lonely child robbed of rest, robbed of safety, and robbed of the right to simply be vulnerable. The applause grew louder, but Marie's voice outside the studio remained heartbreakingly silent. Fame in her teenage years brought adoration, but it also deepened Marie's torment. At just 15, she became the glowing face of the Donnie and Marie show. To audiences, she was radiant, a teen idol embodying innocence and charm. Yet behind the curtains, she was shrinking inside. Standing next to glamorous women like Farrah Fawcett and Raquel Welch, Marie felt like a child playing dress-up. Her insecurities soon turned dangerous when television executives issued a heartless ultimatum: lose 10 pounds or the show would be jeopardized. At the time, she weighed only 103 pounds. Terrified, she obeyed. Surviving on a mixture of lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup, Marie starved herself down to a frail 93 pounds. This was not dieting, it was torment disguised as discipline. The applause she received was hollow, masking the fact that her health was being destroyed in silence. Years later, she revealed the full extent of her suffering: anorexia, bulimia, and nights spent in shame, convinced she was unworthy. To the world, she smiled as America's sweetheart. To herself, she was vanishing, piece by piece. As the cameras kept rolling, Marie's silent battles grew darker. Control through starvation spiraled into an obsession that haunted her well into her 20s. She later admitted she was once branded an embarrassment, a word that cut deeper than any diet. By her early adulthood, she was trapped in a cycle of anorexia and bulimia, punishing herself for never being perfect enough. Her smile became a mask, a performance within the performance. Even more haunting was a secret she carried in silence. As a child, she had endured physical abuse, an experience she revealed only decades later. At 8 or 9 years old, she questioned her worth, already internalizing that her value came from pleasing others. The eating disorders were never just about beauty. They were symptoms of a deeper wound. Every forced diet, every harsh word, reinforced the cruel belief that she was only as good as her appearance, only as valuable as her ability to entertain. Yet through all of this, Marie kept performing. She sang, she danced, she smiled, but behind every costume was a woman breaking under the weight of shame. Love promised refuge, but it brought new heartbreaks. As a young star, Marie was drawn to fellow celebrities whose lives were just as chaotic as her own. Her relationship with Andy Gibb was sweet, but his struggles with addiction overshadowed their fleeting romance. With David Cassidy, the chemistry was undeniable, yet the whirlwind of fame made grounding impossible. In 1982, at just 22, she married basketball player Steve Craig. For a time, she believed she had escaped into normalcy. They welcomed a son, and she clung to the hope of building a family away from cameras. But by 1985, the marriage collapsed, leaving her devastated. A year later, she married Brian Blossel, a relationship that lasted over 2 decades and brought 8 children into her life. To outsiders, it looked like stability, but inside, the marriage cracks grew deeper. Marie rarely spoke about it, but her later words revealed a fatigue that could no longer be hidden. "I was tired of pretending everything was okay. It wasn't." The weight of raising a large family while maintaining her career eroded the fragile peace she had tried to create. In 2007, after 21 years, the marriage ended.
The divorces weren't just personal losses. They reflected a heartbreaking pattern. A woman desperate for lasting love, always left to rebuild. Despite the pain, her devotion to her children never wavered. For them, she endured the broken dreams, determined to give them the stability she herself had been denied.
Her search for lasting love continued to mirror the turbulence of her life. After 2 divorces, the world speculated endlessly about her relationships. Yet beneath the headlines was a woman quietly yearning for stability. For decades, Marie poured herself into raising her 8 children, sacrificing personal happiness for their well-being. Still, her heart remained restless. She admitted in interviews that failed relationships left her questioning whether true love even existed for her. The early sweetness with Andy Gibb,
The Whirlwind with David Cassidy, the hopeful beginnings with Steve Craig, and the long but strained years with Brian Blossel each ended with disappointment. These weren't just failed romances. They were chapters of hope rewritten in heartbreak. Marie once reflected that she felt like she had failed not only as a wife, but as a mother each time a marriage ended. Still, she never stopped believing in love, even as her trust fractured. In her 50s, she stunned the world by quietly remarrying her first husband, Steve Craig, decades after their divorce. Their reunion wasn't about glamour or public spectacle. It was about companionship, history, and forgiveness. For Marie, it was proof that love doesn't always arrive when expected. Sometimes it circles back when both hearts are finally ready. Motherhood, though, tested her spirit in ways love never could. By 1999, after welcoming her 7th child, Marie faced a darkness she could not control: postpartum depression. What many dismissed as baby blues quickly consumed her. She described being unable to move her arms, unable to function, and tormented by thoughts that terrified her. At one point, she left home and her children behind, driving aimlessly for days before returning. Doctors confirmed it wasn't weakness, but clinical depression. Still, tabloids twisted her suffering into lurid rumors of attempted suicide, magnifying her shame. In 2007, her collapse on Dancing with the Stars played out before millions, a stark reminder of how much she pushed herself. Yet rather than hide, Marie chose courage. She began speaking openly about mental health, sharing her story to help other mothers battling silently. Her vulnerability dismantled stigma, showing that even icons could shatter under pressure. "Depression lies to you," she explained, "but it doesn't have to win." Those words became a lifeline for countless women. For Marie, surviving postpartum depression wasn't just about healing herself. It was about breaking silence for others, proving that strength is not found in perfection, but in honesty. But the deepest wound came in 2010, when Marie endured a tragedy no mother should face. Her 18-year-old son Michael died by suicide, leaping from his Los Angeles apartment building. Just hours before, he had left her a missed call she never returned. The guilt of that moment haunted her. Michael had long battled depression, promising Marie he would never harm himself. Yet in his note, he confessed to relentless bullying and hopelessness. The loss shattered her world. For days, she could not eat or sleep, drowning in grief so heavy she admitted she sometimes wished the pain would stop for her too. Yet within a week, she stepped back on stage, explaining later that work was her only escape from collapsing entirely. On Oprah, she revealed she had battled thoughts of leaving the world herself. But instead of retreating, she chose to honor Michael by speaking publicly about bullying, mental illness, and the importance of listening. Her voice, once known for song, became a beacon of advocacy. Each time she shared Michael's story, she transformed unbearable grief into hope for others. Still, the scar remains. In 2023, on the anniversary of his death, she wrote, 13 years and not a day goes by, I don't think of him. Michael's memory became her mission, his story her calling. Through unimaginable loss, Marie chose to keep going, for her children, for her fans, and for the countless parents who saw their pain reflected in hers. Tragedy did not stop with Michael's death. In the years that followed, Marie faced a series of devastating losses that would have broken anyone else. In 2004, her beloved mother, Olive, passed away. Olive wasn't just her parent, she was her spiritual anchor, the one constant reminder of unconditional love amid the chaos of fame. Just 3 years later, her father George died, leaving her with the unbearable emptiness of having lost both parents in such a short time.
Though the Osmond family was large and tightly knit, Marie admitted that without them she felt like a child again, abandoned in a wilderness of grief. But the heartbreak did not relent. In 2018, she quietly revealed she had lost a grandchild, a sorrow so painful she rarely speaks of it. Then, in 2022, tragedy struck her daughter Jessica, whose husband was killed in an act of senseless violence. For Marie, watching her child grieve the loss of a life partner was a wound within a wound, reopening her own memories of Michael while deepening the ache of helplessness. Around the same time, her brother Verl suffered a stroke, a sudden reminder of the frailty of even the strongest bonds. And in early 2025, her brother Wayne, with whom she had shared a lifetime of music and memories, passed away at 73. His death ripped yet another hole in her already fractured heart. These compounded losses weren't just personal tragedies. They symbolized the fading of an era, the slow disintegration of the family dynasty that once filled America's homes with song and laughter. Yet through it all, Marie endured. She didn't retreat into silence. Instead, she kept showing up for her fans, her children, and her faith. She embodied resilience, proving again that while life may take everything, it cannot steal the will to rise.
At 65, Marie Osmond stands not just as an entertainer, but as a living testament to perseverance. While many celebrities retreat into obscurity, she has chosen a quieter but deeply meaningful life. Her home in St. George, Utah, is a 10,000 square foot sanctuary filled not with extravagance, but with memories and love. Designed personally, each room holds fragments of her journey, photos of children, echoes of performances, and reminders of those she has lost. It is here she has found peace, taking long walks in the desert, riding bikes with her grandchildren, and laughing about how they often outpace her. To Marie, grandmotherhood is the most fulfilling role she's ever had. Her focus on health is not vanity, but vitality, ensuring she has the energy to live fully. In 2011, she remarried Steve Craig, her first husband, in a symbolic ceremony held on May 4th, the shared birthday of both her late son Michael and her mother Olive. It was her way of weaving memory into joy, proving that love can endure even through decades of separation and sorrow.
Their union is quiet, free from the pressures of celebrity, grounded in mutual respect and a shared history. Perhaps most surprising to the public was her decision to leave her multi-million-dollar fortune to charity instead of her children. Critics called it harsh, but Marie insisted it was an act of love. She wanted her children to build their own paths, to earn resilience the way she had. Her life today is not about legacy and wealth, but legacy and example, the reminder that strength comes from faith, family, and endurance. Scarred but unbroken, Marie Osmond continues to shine not because life spared her pain, but because she chose to rise above it. Marie Osmond's life has been marked by dazzling highs and devastating lows, yet through it all, she has remained unshakably resilient. At 65, she carries scars that fame could never hide, but also a strength that tragedy could not break. Her legacy isn't just music or fame, it's survival, compassion, and the courage to keep loving in the face of loss. Marie's story reminds us that true beauty lies not in perfection, but in the power to endure.